Shabbos, good Shabbos. I get Shabbos, good Shabbos.
So this week we read Parshas Emor. In a way, it is a continuation of last week's Parsha. Last week's Parsha starts off, Kedoshim tiyu l'Hashem Elokechem ki kodosh ani. And this week's Parsha doesn't speak to the entire people, but to the Kohanim. V'yomer Hashem el Moshe Moira l'Kohanim b'nei Aharon v'yamartu aleihem. And the pasuk goes on, Kedoshim yiyu l'Elokeihem v'lo yechalalu eselkehem ki yesish Hashem lechem Elokeihem makrivam v'hayu kodesh v'kidashtoi kodesh yalach ki kodesh ani Hashem mekadishchem. So does Kedusha only apply to the Kohanim or to each and every one of us? This week's Parsha talks to the Kohanim. Last week's Parsha to every individual. What is Kedusha? Or Chaim HaKodesh in Parshas Kedoshim says, there is Kedusha in every part of creation. In the rocks, in the trees, in the grass, in the animals. Kedusha is everywhere. Just a question of concentration, the level of Kedusha. Or Chaim writes, Gevoya ma'al Gevoya. But Kedusha is everywhere. And the Tzaitzais HaKodesh are everywhere in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's world. Sefer Chasidus is called the Sefer Yetzirah. Perek Gimel once again and Perek Vav. V'har Sinai Oshon Kuloi. Sefer Yetzirah says Oshon is 3 letters. Olam, Shana, Nefesh. These 3 encompass the entirety of creation. Olam is the physical world. The seas, the ocean. The land masses, the mountains. The sky and the earth and the heavens. And all the planets and stars and galaxies. All that is Olam. Shana is time. In our Sifra Kabbalah, time is described as a creation. I think it is also obvious in Einstein's theory of relativity. That is Shana. And Nefesh is humankind. Nefesh Ha'odam. And what the Sefer Yetzirah means to explain according to many different sources in the Hasidic form. In each of these 3 realms, there is an Nekuda Kedosha, a point of utmost holiness, Kedusha. And from there, it is reflected, and it emanates outward until the lowest level of creation. Let's start with Olam. The holiest place in the world is Kodesh HaKodeshim. Even HaShasio Shememeno Hushtat HaOlam. And from there we go one step lower to the Heichal, to the Azorah, to Harabayis, Yerushalayim Ira Kodesh, Eretz Yisrael, and then all the rest of the world and all other worlds. Shana. This is a discussion. Which day is the holiest, Yom Kippur or Shabbos? In some sources, it seems obvious Yom Kippur. Shabbos is Shabbos, Yom Kippur is Shabbos Shabboson. Then Amchal says, Shabbos is holier than any Yom Tiv, even Yom Kippur. This is a discussion we'll have at some other time. So it's either Shabbos Yom Kippur, and then Yom Tovim, and then Yom Tov Sheni Shel Golias, and then Chanukah and Purim, and then all the other times. Nefesh. Klal Yisrael stands apart. Chovavodim Shenivro B'Tzelem. But we stand apart. We are HaKadosh Baruch Hu's chosen people. And why is that? Chavivin Yisrael Shenikra Borim Lamokim. Chavivin Yisrael Shenitan Lem Klei Chemda. But even amongst our people, Shevet Levi is a higher level of Kedusha. And in Shevet Levi, the Kohanim are more holy than the Leviim. And then the Kohen Agodol Miyachav, who is the holiest man in the world. And this is once again a discussion. Talmud Chochem, Weiss versus Kohen Godel. Mamze Talmud Chochem Kohenim LeKohen Godel HaMoretz. But in all of these 3 realms, There are levels, like the Ohr HaChaim says. And there is one nekuda of utmost, total, pure Kedusha. And from there, it spreads, it emanates. So what is Kedusha? Kedusha is yichud, dedication, devotion. The Gemara explains in Kedusha Beis Aret Mekudeshes Li. When a husband is Mekadesh his wife, he says, Aret Mekudeshes Li, Osa la kuli al Mekadesh, but Tosis explains that's not Pshat. Pshat is, man tells woman, husband tells wife, Hareet Mekudeshes Li, Miuchedes Li, Mizumenes Li. You are for me and for no other, and that is why Osa la kuli al Mekudeshes. And that is the concept of Hegdish. Person dedicates and consecrates a chayfetz for Kedusha, for a Kodesh Baruch Hu, either for Korban or Bedek HaBayis. And that is why it is prohibited for all the others to benefit or enjoy or partake of that chefetz. It is dedicated to a Kodesh Baruch Hu. Kedusha is dedication. And that is why the Koyanim are Kodesh. They had no property. They engaged in no business and no commerce and no manual labor. Because they're expected and required to dedicate all their energies. Lavoides Beis Hamikdash. And it boils down to us. We too are expected to be a Mamlechas Koyanim V'Goy Kodesh. Everyone in his own way. But Chazal teach us, "You kol ma'asecho l'shem shemayim." We are supposed to live for our Kodesh Baruch Hu and devote all our energies, powers, thoughts, deeds l'shem shemayim. And if we do so, we too are a mamlechas koyanim and goy kodesh. And that is the very last halucha that we find in the Rambam in Cheshmita v'Yovel, when the Rambam discusses Shevet Levi, and the Rambam writes, "V'lo Shevet Levi belvad, ela kol ish v'ish mekol ba'ei olam, asher havino midoi v'nod v'ruchoi, la'amod lefnei Hashem la'ovdoi u'leshorto, l'deo es Hashem, ho'elech yoshor kefi she'asahu hu Elokim. Harei ze neskadesh kodesh kodeshim." Not only Kodesh, but Kodesh Kodeshim. V'yaspik Hashem kol tzrachav. And he essentially becomes part of the holy entity, Shevet Levi. V'atem tiyu li mamlechas koyanim v'goy kodesh. Have a beautiful Shabbos.